I'm Robin Carey, and I am the CEO of Social Media Today, and I'm delighted to have with me today our incubator, our friend, and the co-founder and CEO of Internet Media Labs, Peter Bordes. Peter's going to be talking about his speaking at the Social Shakeup in Atlanta in September, and a whole lot of other things. Peter, thank you for joining me today.
It's great to be here, Robin. I always enjoy our wonderful heated discussions about the future and innovation and where this exciting time is going.
Yeah, and I think this will be an important voice, yours, at the conference, because so much of what we're going to be doing is oriented towards the present, and you're really on the cutting edge with oneQube, which is in beta right now, and I'm not going to be able to describe it adequately, so you'd better talk about it.
So oneQube is essentially years of experimenting and taking all these disparate pieces that we find that we use as tools within the market and pulling them into a fully integrated dashboard, or what I almost think of as a Bloomberg terminal. And it's about social relationship management at scale, and how do we build, manage, and maintain relationships in this new paradigm that we're entering, moving away from mass media marketing to media marketing, or what we think of as Web 3.0, the relevant web, which is what we think of as the most important movement that's happening now, and is one that we've seen, as we were discussing earlier, patterns repeating themselves in media and marketing that we've been through before through email and other mechanisms, and now in social. We have to start improving relevance in our signal-to-noise ratios, or mathematically the whole thing basically caves in on itself.
Well, I know you, along with thought leaders like Robert Scoble and Shel Israel, are looking at this whole context issue and making things relevant. But I've seen oneQube, and it's brilliant how you're also visualizing this so that big companies or brands can look at their social conversations and really get from them insights that are, for want of a better way to describe them, actionable. How is that moving the ball along for big companies, or how do you see that moving it along?
I think it's game changing for big companies, because we've really been, again, a very volume versus quality based emerging segment of the industry. I mean, we've been talking with publishers like ESPN and Rodale, and we've got Men's Health. I've got 500,000 followers. I have no idea who's in there, and we're seeing this happening now in Twitter. What's happened in Facebook? GM. I've got 1 million followers. So what? What does that actually mean? And so that's what we're really hyper focused on. We're first fixing the problem within the database mechanism of oneQube by allowing you to pull all your users, similar to how you would pull your users into an exact target email database and understand who's in there and segment. Once you've done that, then we build these different modules on top of it that we're essentially all using as one-off solutions in this integrated suite that allows you to then do searches, create groups, communicate with relevance, analyze hashtag, secondary and tertiary information. So now we can start understanding and communicating in a completely different way with our followers, as well as being able to start building. And so as we're starting to add more people, let's not add more noise, let's add more meaningful relationships and be able to manage those relationships at scale. Because, I have 11,500 followers. I'm probably talking to the same 20 people over and over again with another 20 plus that are constantly falling away. I want to be able to talk to thousands of people at scale. And that's really what we think is the most meaningful movement, both in social media marketing and in the emerging social enterprise economy.
Well, again, I'm sort of talking about your product, and unfortunately our viewers can't see it, but they will be able to see it at Social Shakeup, because we'll be using oneQube to monitor the conversations during the conference. But coming back to this notion then of being able to pull this data together in a meaningful way, does this change the organizational view of this data? Let me back up a little bit, because Social Media Today has been around since 2006, and we've seen such an enormous change from the girl down the hall who monitored the Facebook page, or the intern who was doing our Twitter, to where there's a recognition even in the C-suite that this stuff is not only here to stay, but that it represents huge numbers and to some extent huge opportunity. Is oneQube, do you see oneQube actually sort of moving up the food chain to a point where the CEO or the CMO or the CFO can see at a moment's notice the huge impact that the brand's messaging is having?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, whether you're on the social media team and you're executing and managing, all the way up to senior management, and we're having these discussions all the way up and down within fairly large organizations. We've had the C-suite executives saying, I want to watch what's going on, I want to see, I want to listen, I want to be able to understand what's going around our products or around an event or around my competitors, which is a really critical piece now, because what our technology is about democratization, and when you're enabling to harness these types of algorithms, it's incredibly powerful what you can do. There are no secrets anymore. I mean, if I'm Coke, I can listen to Pepsi. If I'm IBM, I can be looking at SAP Sapphire Now event, and I can start extracting information out of it. And it's really enabling both the large enterprise and even the SMB enterprise to all have access to a suite of tools that are not just for Microsoft. When you say social enterprise, people go, oh, that's $5,000 a month. I can't afford that. That's for Microsoft on
right.
up. Again, this is about the democratization in everything that we do. We want to have tools that can be reconfigured for whatever type of business that you have, whether you're a community manager, you're an SMB, an agency, all the way up to the larger organizations. And the technology's real core focus is about how do we drive more relevance in social media and the social enterprise. And there are three core tenets that we think are absolutely essential to the future of social at scale. And that's it's got to be real time, it has to be relevant, and it has to be intelligent. And when you start ripping the UI away, and there's some amazing visualizations like I've shown you, and I'm actually going to, now that I think about it, the show that Twitter swarm visualization of what's going on around context and hashtags, and in showing what's going on behind the UI, these real-time, what we think of micro communities forming around macro events. And you look at the organic nature of these people and content going on around it, and when we show it to brands, they're like, I had no idea. This is so incredibly powerful. And that's what we're really focused on. It's like, how do we enable the entire organization, or even any size of organization, to be able to harness all this incredibly powerful information that's out there in real time. And coming out of the ad tech business, when I look at what we're doing now, I think of, in ad tech, I equate it to duck hunting. We've been shooting behind the duck the whole time, where now I can instantly, when someone says, I'm hungry, or I'm here, I've arrived, be able to connect with relevance and engage with that person in an incredibly meaningful way, so that's not spammy and it's actually value added.
So you raise an interesting question. So if Pepsi can see what Coke's doing in real time and vice versa, or IBM and SAP, then what is it that separates one competitor from another in terms of the edge? Where's the edge going to be? If it's not going to be knowledge, what's the edge going to be?
The edge is how they use these tools, because we all have access to them, and I've got tons of examples in the last month with all these different companies we've been speaking to, and the ones that have well, I won't name the brand, but say have a top radio show in the US around sports. They've got 586,000 followers, and then there's one local sports show here on radio. They've got 36,000 followers, but the way that they're using the mechanism and the tools is outperforming this larger brand 10x. And it's not that they don't have the ability to do the same thing. They don't have probably the right training, the right standards set, and how they're engaging and understanding how to access these tools in a meaningful way to be able to engage at scale and being able to harness their community in a meaningful way. And a lot of people are still treating their community as, oh, I've got a hashtag, and I have a hashtag because I'm letting people find me. And we say, well, no, actually, you should be using the hashtag. You need to find them. You've got to start thinking differently. It's it's no longer about people coming to your content and coming to your brand. There's so much competition out there for the consumer. We need to now intelligently be going out, and these tools leveraged properly really empower brands and empower organizations in a way that's game changing. I mean, it is really, really game changing.
Going from the global to the particular, so one of the things that gets me very excited, I mean, I think I've told several people that my favorite platform is Twitter, because I see that it's still, for an organization like ours, which is small, it's the level playing field. You know, we can make the right case on Twitter, and we're not going to be algorithmed out, and that's largely because of hashes, right?
Yes.
Hashes are the great democratic social mechanism, and you and I were talking before this interview about the history of the hashtag. I mean, it was an accident, you said. I mean, is that?
Yeah, it was kind of, I think it was a lark, like, you know, a way of someone expressing. I can say in a conversation something about food, but when I hashtag it was a way of saying, I'm really interested in this. And it just became this mechanism that now has grown, and we're so excited to see it proliferating out of Twitter everywhere, that we think of it as the most atomic element of context and relevance. I mean, they're literally binding communities together, whether they're ebbing and flowing around the Super Bowl, or it's the hashtag Us Guys, which is going on every day. The hash is, I think, is definitively going to be one of the most important mechanical elements of media going forward across the board everywhere. And we're starting to see people harnessing it in really interesting ways, such as someone saying, hashtagging something and then getting cookied, and then they're getting targeted in the ad exchanges, but they're getting targeted with such interesting information because in real time they said they're expressing their intent, and we're seeing the performance in this type of marketing just outperform any of the older types of behavioral and contextual targeting that we've seen before.
So follow hashtag Social Shakeup to get the latest on what Peter's doing, on what we're going to be talking about at Social Shakeup in September. And I think our audience is going to really get a big kick out of oneQube. And thank you for demoing it at our event and for speaking. And I hope everyone gets a chance to see what Peter's up to.
I'm thrilled to be there, and I'm incredibly excited because I think the Social Shakeup basically says it all. We all got to get shaken up right now and start taking.
Keep on shaking.
Yeah, keep on shaking. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter, for interviewing us,
Great.
letting us interview today.
Thanks. It was great being here, Robin.